Hey everyone, welcome to today's AdWords attribution training. Today we'll be taking you through a 3-step framework to measuring and attributing your AdWords conversions. Just a quick heads up, in case you feel the video quality is slightly blurred, you can click on settings at the bottom of the watch pane and select a resolution of 720p. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to use the live chat option and we'll be happy to at the end of the training. So let's get started. The digital sphere is rapidly changing. Nowadays, with an increase in mobile phone usage and tablet ownership, more search traffic coming from these devices. Now, while these devices make it very easy to search while they're on the go, it doesn't always result in a direct conversion. It's very rare for a person to complete a conversion in one sitting on one device exactly. And thus, this results in very complex consumer paths. 5% of online adults start an activity on one device, but go on to actually finish it on another device or multiple other devices. It's crucial for advertisers to understand this change in user behavior and adapt their approach to measuring and analyzing it. Fortunately, most advertisers are behind the 8-ball pin when it comes to understanding user behavior. Of marketers and advertisers today are still using last-click models to make strategic decisions in their account. A user's final touch point or the end interaction medium that they used before they converted on your website. Given this changing user landscape, it's time we revisit this approach and use attribution to truly understand the importance of every single touch point in the user journey, as this sheds light on valuable and actionable insights. Our framework for this process is super simple. In this presentation, we'll review how advertisers should correctly measure all conversion credit across multiple touch points instead of just the final one, and act on this data through bidding, targeting decisions. Step 1 in our framework today is to establish proper measurement settings to create a strong foundation for attribution. Businesses that correctly track key metrics grow at a faster pace. The only way to actually know if your advertising efforts is paying off is to measure whether visitors who visit your website are actually completing the end goal that you intend them to. This is by setting tracking mechanisms in place. Otherwise, you will be playing a guessing game to understand what percentage of your users are just visiting your website versus users who are actually leading to leads or end sales. One of the reasons why digital online marketing is so effective is because as an advertiser, guess how your customers are performing. You can determine exactly how the customers are interacting with your ads and what percentage of those who have clicked through to your site have actually taken the action that you've intended them to take. Enable conversion tracking to understand whether your site visitors are completing the actions you want them to take when they land on your website. You know how to actually tailor your campaigns accordingly to ensure that more and more conversions are occurring on your website. There's one quick tip that I've got to give you here, which is what most advertisers do is limit their definition of conversion to an actual online purchase only. True, capturing the actual sales is of paramount importance. However, if you want to get a more holistic and accurate understanding of the impact of your online ads, you'll need to track every moment that matters to your business. This could be either a newsletter sign up, it could be the number of telephonic leads that you're getting on your website, it could be the number of videos that were played, any apps that were downloaded, any in-app purchases that were actually made, or it could also be form fill-ups. On your business type, these goals could differ for each one of you. And there's wide ability to track any of these customer interactions through various forms of conversion tracking. Definitely be sure to track every single form of interaction that is valuable for your business. Now, to kick things off on the right foot by following these best practices in your account, ensure that you are including cross-device conversions in the conversion column and not just conversions that are occurring across a single device. Link your Google Analytics to your AdWords account and import every single website-related metrics that is available that is relevant for your business. Action column, include every conversion that you'd want to be counted as a conversion for the purpose of bidding. We're going to delve more into this a little later. But it is very important to ensure that the conversions that you want to be counted in your bidding strategies are getting included in your conversion column. Review and increase your look back window to capture conversions from users with longer purchase paths. For example, if your business is one wherein users take 20 days, 14 days, or so on to actually go ahead and convert, and probably need to visit your website multiple times before they actually convert, you might need to have a longer look back window as opposed to somebody who has most of their conversions occurring within the first 4 days. Having a shorter look back window will result in a few conversion actions actually getting excluded. The value of conversions through dynamic values as opposed to having a fixed value for every conversion, unless the actual price of every single conversion or the monetary value of all of them are equivalent. This will help you realize which are the keywords and which are the campaigns that are bringing you the most revenue and which are the ones that aren't. Correct conversion count. Count one for leads or every for purchases. So if you're going ahead and actually tracking sales on your website, you'd want to ensure that every single purchase is counted as a conversion, even if multiple purchases are made by the same person. If you're going ahead and tracking leads, you'd want to count it as only one per user, so that even if you have one user submitting multiple leads, this does not inflate your conversion count. Another thing that you need to keep an eye out for is any of these red flags that are there in your account. Is install Google Tag Assistant, as this would actually go ahead and tell you any code issues you might have that could cause an issue in your conversion tracking. If you've noticed that you have your conversion tracking code in place, but haven't received any conversions in a long while, or you're spending on mobile ads, but you're not receiving any mobile conversions in the last 14 to 30 days. If your conversion rates are too high, so you've got your conversion codes in place, it's actually tracking, but it's tracking very high numbers, anything above 50%, then there's a possible that it's not tracking the right thing and you're possibly tracking clicks as conversions. Conversion count is different in your actual sales database, wherein you're probably reporting 500 sales versus in the AdWords account where you're reporting 250 or 750. You'd know that there's something wrong because the numbers are different. In case any of these issues are occurring and you're facing any difficulty in troubleshooting this, please feel free to reach out either to the support team or your account managers. Step 2 today is to adopt a very sophisticated attribution model, which will help you analyze the impact of various touch points in the customer's journey. It's important to know if the actual end goal was completed, but an even more important thing to understand is the path that a user took that led them to complete this goal, as this leads to a lot of insights based on which you can change the way your campaigns are structured or on the basis of which keywords are you giving the most importance. Let's take one step back from this and put this user behavior in perspective. When was the last time you booked a vacation? Did you do it in one big search session, or did you do this on just one device? Your vacation planning process looked more so like this. It possibly occurred across a span of a lot of searches over various websites and across different devices. These super fragmented, complex journeys are not uncommon, and while they differ from business model to business model, is very commonly it's noticed across any business model which requires a lot of monetary purchase to be made or a lot of time investment before a decision is taken. Understanding these winding consumer parts can definitely be challenging, but that's where attribution will help you connect the dots. Understand your users' path and identify which of those various interactions actually led to the end conversion, you'll be able to invest more in those specific interactions. When you know what works, you can invest more in, let's say, the second interaction or the third interaction, which actually could have added more value than the last one. Value across your users' paths fuels growth for your business. Attribution is a rule or a set of rules that determines how credit is assigned to touch points across the conversion path. Let's take a look back at the same example we were looking at in terms of the vacation plan. Action do you think was it that actually led to the final purchase? Was it the very last one wherein they actually made a reservation and led to an actual sale? Or was it possibly the first one which initiated this entire process? Or could it also be the ones in the middle that actually led to the last and final decision and had an impact which led to an ultimate sale? As you can see, deciding which clicks to credit for a conversion can be pretty tough. Marketers use various attribution models, each of which gives credit across the entire conversion journey. Now, you can see the ones on screen. You have last click and first click, which give more importance to the very first action or the last action. You've got time decay, linear, and position base, which gives credit to various steps of the journey. And you've got data-driven attribution, which I'll be taking you through in more detail in a quick bit. Models that assign full credit, like a single touch point. So if you say the last click or your first click conversion models, these are slightly outdated and they don't take into account the entire user behavior. So for example, if a user had to go through a Google search, it gives credit only to the very first keyword that they possibly searched for, or the very last one, but doesn't give credit to any of the keywords in the middle that actually led to them coming back and searching more and looking more about your specific business. However, a lot of advertisers today are still using these outdated last click and first click models, primarily because a lot of advertisers think that switching to a more sophisticated model could be confusing, could be time consuming. Let's take a look at what are the other models that are available in this situation. Now, if you take a look at AdWords search attribution, it's actually going to help you make this entire process of understanding which of those conversions are better in an easier way, because it allows you to go ahead and it's compatible with your auto bidding. It's a free tool that's available on your interface. You'll be able to actually compare the impact of various models for each of your keywords, to integrate your cross-device attribution as well and see the credit not just across various my reviews, but also across various devices. And this actually does lead to more accurate CPA or target ROAS for mobile. And you can personalize the same by setting smarter manual bids and using smart bidding so that you're able to actually adjust your bids in a way to lead to more conversions. Using this tool is really simple. It needs exactly 3 steps. The first, select the best model. Second, ensure that you make this change and you change the model that is selected by default on your AdWords interface. The most important, read the timeline that you have in mind when you're doing any kind of analysis of conversions. We're going to delve into all of these 3 steps right now. With search attribution, you first need to select the absolute best model for your business, and this could depend on the business model that you have. If your account is eligible, definitely do choose the data-driven option. The eligibility criteria for this is you need to ensure that you have at least 15,000 search ad clicks, not impressions. You need to have 600 conversions, and this needs to be over a 30-day period. And once this your account is eligible for the next 30 days after you've met this eligibility criteria, the system will train your account to actually understand the various signals and the conversion paths that are happening for your business. And that is when this option will show on your account. If this option then shows to you on your account, definitely take the data-driven option. However, if in case data-driven option doesn't show, you can use any of the other rule-based models, which is time decay or position-based as well. Now, talking a little bit more about the new data-driven attribution option that is available for your account data, and Google's machine learning capabilities to determine which of those user touch points or interactions with your business are most influential. It'll then allocate the credit based on the action of each keyword across the user path. And the best part about this is it gets smarter each time as a system this model that is put into place to understand the various signals and change accordingly. So you do not have to make any manual changes on your end. It will adjust it over a period of time according to your account's performance. If you want to learn more about the data-driven attribution, you can also read up more about this on our AdWords Help Center article. The difference between data-driven and the rule-based is there are just a couple of differences between the two. One, data-driven will have 100% personalization according to your own data. It gets updated very regularly in the account, but you will not be able to apply this to historical data. With rule-based models, let's say your time decay, linear, or position-based, you can apply this historical data. It takes all your converting paths into account. However, there's the level of personalization to every single keyword and touch point is not as much as it's there in the data-driven models. Now, this chart will help you understand if you have to choose between the three rule-based models, which one is more suited for your business. If your business has a conservative growth strategy, definitely go for the time decay model because it gives more credit to those interactions that a customer has closer to the actual conversion occurring. If your business has a moderate growth, you'll need to take the linear model, or that's preferable because it'll give equal credit across all the clicks that led to a final conversion. So if you've had 20 clicks before a user has actually converted on your website, it will give equal credit to each of those clicks. If in case your business has an aggressive growth strategy, then you'd want to opt for the position-based model, primarily because what this does is it gives 40% of the credit to the very first and last because it values the first and the last conversion points more. However, it does still give credits to the middle touch point by giving 20% credit to the middle touch points. What growth strategy your business has, you can choose a model accordingly. Now, once you've mentally selected which model you actually would like to have for your business, you'll have to actually make this change on your AdWords interface as well and change it from the default option that's there. As you can see on the interface, if you're eligible for data-driven basis the eligibility criteria we mentioned, the option for data-driven will show under attribution model, and definitely do select that there. However, if the option for data-driven does not show over, that essentially means your account is not yet eligible for the same, in which case we'd recommend to pick one from linear, time decay, or the position-based models. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you can select your model, you can decide which is best for business, but a very important part is the timeline that you use for analyzing this. Now, remember with multi-touch models, report conversions based on earlier clicks in the conversion journey. So let's say, for example, if you were previously using the last click conversion model, the system would have given more credit to the click. It would have given the entire credit to the click that happened right before your conversion occurred, which essentially in easier for you to have picked a smaller look back window because the system just looks at the very interaction right before conversion. When you're switching your model to anything else that takes into account the entire user behavior, you'd want to ensure that firstly, you select a look back window that is sufficient or at least 30 days so that the system can take into account the very first touch point and the subsequent touch points as well. Once you've selected your window for the actual conversions to get tracked, the next thing to do is also select when is it that you're actually going to go ahead and do an analysis of the same. For example, if you're looking at conversions that have occurred between day 1 to day 30 or day 40, don't do your analysis on day 30 itself or day 31. Allow sufficient time for those conversions to actually register and reflect in your AdWords account. So definitely keep that in mind when you're doing any kind of analysis. What we also would recommend you to do is, if you have a very large time frame between which your actual sales are occurring, and the best way you'd be able to take a look at this is if you can take a look at the time lag reports in your accounts. If you observe that the actual time frame before which your conversions are occurring is possibly of a longer duration, definitely extend the look back window. Otherwise, as you can see from the screen, if you select a look back window of just 2 weeks, you'll possibly be missing any of the ad clicks that could have occurred earlier, which means that when on the basis of conversions, those keywords that were used slightly earlier in this entire process get neglected and do not actually get the due credit that they deserve. And you will possibly be thinking those are not as relevant keywords. However, the actual truth of the matter could be very different. So definitely keep this in mind, because the date your conversion occurs and the time frame it takes after which the actual original click occurred is very important and can be measured in the time lag reports. So we've taken a look at how do we measure and attribute it. But once you've measured and attributed your conversions, what do you do with this data? Step 3 in our framework today is to act on these insights surfaced by your new attribution model based on your bids, your budgets, and even which keywords you're giving the most importance. Take the insights gained through your new attribution model and use them to drive strategic decisions within your AdWords account. Now, when you transition from the last click or the first touch model that gives credit across the entire touch point, you'll notice that there'll be a shift in credit towards mobile devices and any upper funnel non-branded keywords. What does this mean? Let's say, for example, if in the same example of a user who was going on a vacation, if their initial 5 searches occurred on a mobile device when they were on a go, but their actual end sale or the purchase ended up happening when they were on a desktop at home and ready to make the final payment. If you were not using any multi-touch point model earlier, in credit only to the desktop and not to any of the previous searches that could have possibly occurred on tablets or mobiles on the go. However, now you'll notice once you've made the shift in these models, that this conversion credit will be given more to mobile devices as well. You'll also notice that in the search process, when users are searching for a specific term, the initial few keywords that they're searching for could possibly be non-branded keywords, because at the very start of your search, you're not too sure what you're looking for. You're possibly just looking for a vacation or a weekend getaway. As you go through the entire process, that's when you or shortlist certain specific brands, and that's when your keywords actually end up reflecting that in the searches, that there are more branded keywords being used. So when you make this shift from any of your single touch points to multi-touch attribution models, you'll notice a lot of credit being given to keywords that you earlier thought were not as relevant, but because they were non-branded keywords, but they're now getting a good portion of the credit. If you see this happening for your business, wherein more conversions are coming from generic upper funnel targeting, there are 2 courses of action that you could actually do and that we recommend taking. The very first one is expand your non-branded keyword targeting to capture demand early on in searchers' journeys. Now, the best way to get an idea of what are the best non-branded keywords that you should be using, you could either use the keyword planner tool Or you could even look at the search terms reports in your AdWords account, because that'll give you a good idea of the exact terms that customers were looking for when they came across your ad and checked out your website. Second thing that you should also do is increase your max CPC to gain for the terms that are yielding conversions, so that you can get more visibility for valuable keywords that were associated with them. Possibility that once more credit is given to each of these keywords, you'll also notice that your budget could possibly be running out earlier, because the system will be adjusting those bids accordingly. In case you are seeing an uptick in conversions that are associated with mobile devices that was not occurring earlier and you were seeing only desktops, definitely take advantage of this by adjusting your device bid adjustments on the mobile devices, so that your system is also bidding accordingly on mobile devices where your ads are showing and getting you conversions. We've talked we've seen how you have your device bid adjustments, you've got your mobile bids, you've got keywords. There's a lot of factors you've got to keep in mind. If any of these manual bid adjustments are too time consuming, or they're simply giving you a math induced headache, are smart bidding or real time automated bidding solutions. Now, as you'll know, in your AdWords account, there are multiple bidding options available for you. One is the manual bid, where you manually change the bids for every single keyword, and you'll have to constantly keep monitoring which keyword is doing better from a click standpoint, from a CTR standpoint, from the rank, from the conversions that are occurring. Use any of the automated smart bidding options. Let's say enhance CPC, target ROAS, target CPA, whatever is more relevant for your business model. Once you select these automated options, a real-time bidding occurs. You no longer have to actually manually change the bids in your account. The system will do it for you. It is not one variable, but close to 70 million variables that are taken into account when the system changes these bids automatically. Now, for any human, unless you are sitting with your AdWords account throughout the day, it'll be very difficult to monitor all of these variables. Recommended to have an automated bid strategy in place. It is precision at scale. You'd likely have to look at thousands of keywords in your account daily, whereas this takes care of all the keywords that you have, no matter what the number is. Important bit is it helps you drive more conversions with lesser time on any kind of manual optimization. As mentioned earlier, one of the changes that you could observe in your campaign when you've made this from a single touch model to any of these multi-touch attribution models is that your search budget campaigns might be getting exhausted. Now show with a notification on the interface that says limited by budget. To re-examine and see whether your search campaign budgets need to be altered after switching attribution models. If your campaign is the performance goal you have kept in mind, you can reallocate some of the budget of this campaign to others so that you can have a better performance campaigns. The other thing you could also do is have a shared budget across all of these campaigns so that you can efficiently distribute the budget, and the campaign that needs the most gets that budget. If your campaign is meeting targets and you've set specific performance goals and it's just about there, then what we'd recommend is in your opportunities tab, there would be a recommended budget by the system. Do consider increasing the budget to the recommended budget. Campaign is limited by budget even after all of these changes. There are two things that we'd recommend you do. The bids and get more clicks at the same cost. That is, if you do not want to increase the budget of the campaign, or if that is not an option. The second thing you can also do is to use standard ad delivery instead of accelerated. This option will show on your settings page and will ensure that your budget is not getting exhausted too quickly in the early hours of the day, as opposed to showing throughout the entire day. For optimal results, keep this framework in mind as you reevaluate AdWords measurement and attribution. We'll take a few seconds now in case you'd like to ask any questions through the chat option. Rest assured, if you have any questions that you don't have in mind right now, but you might have some later, feel free to reach out to your designated AdWords account manager. We have one question. Can I confirm the qualifications for using the multi-attribution system? All right. For multi-attribution system, two options. One is the data-driven attribution, and the other one is the rules-based attribution. Rules-based attribution includes your linear models, your time decay, or position-based, and these do not have any eligibility criteria. You can select them in the account right away. Attribution, however, does have an eligibility criteria. You need to have at least 15,000 search ad clicks, 600 conversions over the last 30 days for that to actually show as an option in your account. Any of your accounts right now and notice that you do have 15,000 search ad clicks and you have had 600 conversions over the last 30 days, but this is still not showing you as an option. That is because once you have met the eligibility criteria, it could take 30 days for the system to actually train the model before which that shows as an option in your account. To match that eligibility criteria, definitely go for the data-driven option, or else you can still use the rule-based models, which also takes into account the various touch points of a user's journey. However, with those, there is no eligibility criteria that is. We have another question that says, what does a PPC manager learn about the users if the system is automated? Now, there are two things that are automated. One, the actual attribution model. Two, the actual bidding that is put in place. So let's say if you're a PPC manager who has both the bids as well as the attribution model, which are automated and set in place. The things that we'd ask you to keep a lookout for is the shifts in the behavior in your campaigns once you have set these automated or your automated attribution. Let's say, for example, if you notice your budget's running out, you notice a shift from desktop to tablets or mobiles, you notice a shift towards non-branded keywords, or if you notice that the window possibly needs to be changed. These are the different signals that you will keep an eye out for, because despite everything else being automated, The few things that you have to keep an eye out for are what are the keywords you need to additionally add to your campaign, or if you need to manually go ahead and increase the bids for certain devices, or if you need to manually adjust the budget or the shared budget that you might be having for these campaigns. So these are the three things I'd ask you to keep in mind if you have everything else automated and in place. All right, we have another question that says, does Google share the insights which drive performance changes? So what you could do if you have a Google Analytics account, what I recommend you doing is setting up any one of the intelligence reports, because if there are changes that are happening across your accounts, let's say for example, you notice that certain campaigns are spending more, they are spending lesser, seeing a sudden increase in conversions up to a certain amount, having any of your intelligence reports will automatically tell you that there are these changes happening. However, what you could also do is you can set up manual reports in the accounts, but that would require a little bit of analysis to see where the changes are occurring. So if you have any of your reports and you do a comparison month on month, you'll be able to see that there's a slight increase in the conversions, there's an increase in maybe the budget that is being used, or the bids might be different, or so on. But that might need to be analyzed manually. If you have Google Analytics, definitely do set up any of those intelligence reports, because that will give you those signals automatically. The next question we have is, where on AdWords can I see or set these attribution models? So on your AdWords interface, you'll notice if you're in a standalone child account, when you go to Tools Conversions, you'd be able to see an option for attribution on your left-hand side. You can also, however, see these attribution models when you're at the MCC level as well. However, for individual standalone child accounts, it's conversions and then attribution on the left-hand side. You'd be able to then set the attribution for the entire account. In case you have any further question, we'll probably take a minute or so if there's anything else that you'd still like to ask. We have one more question. Does Google offer a service to partners to set up relevant attribution models to campaigns on our behalf? While we don't offer a service where we set it up for all of the client accounts, you can definitely consult with your account managers to see from specific if there's a different strategy that you might need to use. For example, you'll notice that for some of your accounts, having a linear attribution model might make sense, basis whether it's a conservative, moderate, or an aggressive growth strategy. And you'll notice that for some of your accounts, you might need to have, let's say, maybe a time decay model. You can definitely consult with your account manager assigned to your account for any of these queries, and they'd be able to guide you as to what might be more suitable for your business. But we don't offer a standalone service to set it up for every account. All right, there appears to be no further questions. In case you do have any questions at a later stage, feel free to reach out to either your support teams or to your dedicated account managers, and they'd be happy to help you with the same. After this training, we'll be sharing the presentation presentation deck that we've used and any other links or resources that could be useful. So definitely do take time to go through them and see if any of your campaigns that you have might need changes on the basis of the various attribution models that are available and the ones that are currently being used in your account. For today, folks. Hope you enjoyed this presentation, and if you have any questions, definitely do reach out. Bye-bye. Have a good day.